I don't even know what to say. Genuinely, I was thinking, what am I going to say here? Man United have won on penalties for only the second time in their last 9 attempts. We're through to the FA Cup final, and crucially, maybe the biggest part of all of this today, we've got 6 weeks to get better than that. Because if we aren't, City are going to have their way with us. But before we get to any of that, I'm joined by Scotty, I'm joined by Jeremy Garth. I'll start with you, Scotty. Feel free to skip straight to the penalty shootout, but how do you feel and how did that game make you feel?
It was tiresome to watch, to be honest.
It's unbelievable, wasn't it?
It was. I watched the United-Liverpool 7-0 and I thought that was an easier watch because of some form of entertainment. But but it was just
at
so
least
tense.
It was a horror film.
Yeah, it was just so tense all the way through. I think Brighton probably edged it in the performance in 120 minutes. But I think I was the only one out of the 4 of us that I thought we'd go on to win. Just basically because football's a cruel bloody game. And yeah, going to the final, I'm just absolutely knackered to enjoy it.
I think Brighton are a brilliant team, and you've got to give them credit. That one hell of a little competitor that we had back and forth. But again, we both sort of seemed like we ran out of ideas into the game. But the more we went on, I thought maybe in the second half we had better, like an edge on them a little bit with how good our attacking options were with Rashford, and he nearly gets a very good goal, but unfortunately misses. The game then afterwards screamed 0-0. As soon as it got to extra time, we knew we were going to have a penalty shootout on our hands because no one really wanted it. Everyone was knackered. And in the penalty shootout, David De Gea is interested in the net. It wasn't him who saved it. It was a miss by that March. He looked gutted.
Given his marching orders.
But then, Lindelof's up next and there's no changing it. Lindelof all the way through to the end. That's a score. And Ten Hag seems to be able to just win games somehow. And we either scrape by or we pick up 1-0 wins. And we have done that recently over the last couple of games. And there was something about Lindelof scoring that kind of hit me. You had the confidence, but I was like, right, Ten Hag has done it again. And he's got us into a final.
We've got to these positions where it's almost like the comparisons with the Solskjaer era are so blatant that it's been written by some sort of scriptwriter. Like the cup final where we couldn't get there, and then we get there. And then this one, one of the biggest shames under Solskjaer was losing that penalty shootout to Villarreal.
Yeah.
And again, first season, we get into a penalty shootout and we win it. It's something we've struggled with so much for over a decade. I think we've won one. Before today, we'd won one since 2009.
We didn't miss a penalty as well. Every single person stepped on, knew what they were doing. Also, as well, there's little things like the penalty takers heading over to the goalkeeper, maybe speaking about where the opposition was going to go, maybe relaying information that they remembered in their head, and it just seemed like a nice way of winning. But
something else that's just great. I'm so glad Weghorst scored his penalty because that would have been a nightmare if he'd have missed the losing penalty.
You cheered the loudest at Weghorst.
Yeah, I was happy for him because I think you were saying even on a human level, he would be, he gets a lot of shit anyway, and for him to miss and United go out, it would have just been absolutely horrible for the man. But yeah, United's penalties were great, and I thought Sancho took his penalty particularly well, and it's nice for him to sort of get that under his belt after what happened a couple of years ago for England. Sabitzer was probably the closest to actually getting saved. Well, I think the amount of power he got behind it got in, but it's nice, man, just to be on the winning side of a penalty shootout for
the game was rubbish though.
Yeah,
it was.
The actual 90 minutes of football was a bit.
We
rubbish.
looked like we were out on our feet since the first whistle. Yeah. It was so evident that Rashford, Martial, Eriksen, Shaw to a lesser extent, but those three in particular did not look fit.
No.
Bruno obviously got his knock on his ankle, which you saw him taped up and iced up at the end of the game. From about 20 minutes on, he wasn't fit. And when you think those 4 players are so crucial to how we play, I mean, especially Rashford, Bruno and Eriksen, they're so crucial to how we keep the ball and we play. For them to not be fully fit, it was always going to be difficult. And without wanting to stray too much into if your team won, then everything you did was great, because I think United were pretty poor today. It is just so good having a team that, whilst I wasn't particularly confident while I was watching it, you can look back on and go, a lot of the times in the big moments, Europa League aside, we've pulled out some big results.
Yeah.
We've even in that run up to the Europa League, the Barcelona game, big result.
Yeah.
Like we've beaten all of the top teams at home, big results. We beat Newcastle. We got to that final. We finally got there. We beat Newcastle at Wembley for the first trophy in 6 years. Even now, Brighton will be their players will be sat in the dressing room thinking, we were the better team there. Their fans will be going home thinking, we were the better team. It doesn't matter because we won. And in a cup, that is the only thing that matters. And if we can do the same thing to City, where we look shit, they look dangerous all game, and we win it in the last second or win it on penalties, that's all that matters. And for now, while the squad isn't quite where it needs to be, while players are tired, while players are injured, that is enough to just go, that's a successful season. And luckily, just looking forward a little bit, these next 6 weeks, the game is on the 3rd of June, so it's just under 6 weeks until that game. Now Ten Hag's got an end goal for this season, because otherwise, like you were saying at halfway, 60 minutes or whatever it was, this is the last thing to play for this season. Now his whole season is rotate players, rest players, keep players fresh, finish top 4 obviously, which isn't going to be easy. But there is a focal point to this season, which hopefully will keep these players going. Do you think it will? Yeah,
I think so. And if you look at the teams around us in terms of who are fighting for top 4, I think that might have an effect on Brighton now, because I think we say they might challenge for it. That it gives Ten Hag the opportunity to rotate and rest players, because they did look dead on their feet. To use an analogy, it looked like United were boxing with one arm behind the back for the game. It really did, because we were not firing on all cylinders at all. But I think we're definitely going to come out a completely different, maybe even 11 when it comes to the 3rd of June. I think one thing we should really sort of give credit to was that whilst we didn't have a great performance, there wasn't many of that sort of errors from the centre-back pairing of Luke Shaw, who was still carrying a bit of a knock, and Lindelof was the best man of the match, and it's quite fitting that he would score the winning.
I'm really happy for Lindelof as well, because I think that he's had games this season, and his role this season has gone under the radar a little bit, where two things. One is he's never complained, he's never whinged. You've never heard him come out and say, I should be starting, I'm sick of it, this, that and the other. And you wouldn't expect that, but we've seen it from United players this season. He quietly goes about his business, and he's had some difficult games. The 6-3 against City, last season, the away at City where they just battered us and Foden ripped him apart, and he's had tough games. And then to go from that to not even being a first choice player anymore, then to step up in this game,
it shows the character.
It's great, and it's just great to have players like that in the squad. And I think it was good that Maguire was out the firing line, and we didn't have to worry about him playing. And I think David De Gea is another one who deserves credit, because rightly I think he got a lot of stick after Thursday. He was crucial in 2 of the goals that they scored, but today didn't put foot wrong. And I said it before the game started, all I would love out of David De Gea is for him to have a quiet game today, and I think he did. He made a couple of nice saves. But it wasn't like a De Gea masterclass. But it certainly wasn't the disaster class that we saw on Thursday. It was nice to see a lot of players, wasn't it, Joe, go from that disastrous performance on Thursday to a solid, if not slightly underwhelming one today. We sort of tightened things up a little bit, if nothing else.
And I think now to the end of the season, it's quite good that we've got I know it's disappointing they've got knocked out the Europa League, but just having the Premier League now to focus on and gear up to the last game of the season, of our season, being an FA Cup final. The hope the players can find that in them. They found a little bit of spirit at the end of the game, and I hope that's whatever they had there can be bottled and channeled into this next bit of the year. I remember you saying about like boxing one arm behind your back. I feel like there's this video that circulates every now and again where this like boxer has like during his one of the rounds he dislocates his shoulder and he's fighting like that. And he just manages to get one last hit on this guy, knocking him out. Probably people watching know the video more than me, and I'm always fascinated by it, but I feel like that was Ten Hag then. He just got us all the way. The final bell was going to ring, and he just had one last little. I'm going to get us to the final.
Yeah, I think we said it throughout. It's like when do we make changes, and what changes can Ten Hag make with the players that he's got at his disposal? So I mean, City is going to be a mighty task, but I think with the amount of preparation and time we've got leading up to June the 3rd.
I want to go through the penalties in just a minute. I want to have a little bit of a look at who scored, what happened. But before that, this review is sponsored by Manscaped, the leaders in below the waist grooming. Over 8 million men trust Manscaped, and with our code MATCHDAY20 you can get 20% off and free shipping. You know it by now. Manscaped, you've got the lawnmower, their proprietary trimmer, you've got the ear and nose hair weed whacker as well. You've got all the solutions, the lotions, the potions, everything to make you smell and look fantastic. So make sure you check out Manscaped. If you use our code MATCHDAY20, there you go, you get 20% off and free shipping. Gone are the days where you can just turn up for a date with things just au natural hanging in the wind and expect people to be happy with it. Everything has to be taken care of these days. The beards are trimmed, the hair is tight, even this long hair. I get this cut 3 times a week, but just a millimetre off. And you've got to expect that same precision down south.
Yeah.
So make sure you check out Manscaped. Again, use our code MATCHDAY20. Treat yourself after a little celebration. United through to the cup final. You need your balls spick and span for the 3rd of June, and you're not going to get there without Manscaped. So check them out. Link in the description, link in the comments. Right, to the penalties. One thing I want to say, and again, it's hard to give someone too much credit for players scoring a penalty, but thankfully, all of Ten Hag's substitutes who took penalties scored them.
Yep.
We saw Sancho take one, who was, I think, a lot of people going, because he's not sort of flavour of the month at the moment, to say the least. Weghorst the same, and Sabitzer, who I think we had a bit more confidence in. All of them scoring their penalties. It's nice to see that in it, because he'd already taken Bruno off, who is one of the best penalty takers in the world. He'd already taken Martial off, who has scored penalties for United in the past. It was good to see that sort of payoff.
What's interesting is you mentioned that obviously we've only scored a couple in the last 9, won a couple in the last 9 penalty shootouts. But if you take yourself back to the Villarreal final, every single player scored. Apart from De Gea.
Yep.
You go to then we beat Middlesbrough by penalty. So then you go here, every single player had confidence. Like, I was shit myself, but all of them seemed to just take the penalty so well. There wasn't really any close calls. I feel like every single person, Casemiro, Delo, Weghorst, every single person stepped up and just absolutely they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
There was no second guessing, and just nailed it. So I think we were prepared for it, put it that way. I think it was in players' minds that it might come down to.
And the other thing to remember is, yes, I know that the frustration can grow, and you know, I think, what is it, De Gea's penalty shootout record is letting sort of 20 in a row or something now, which obviously isn't great. But it's easy to underestimate that when you keep scoring, the pressure grows on what is a list of increasingly unqualified Brighton players taking penalties.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh well, De Gea didn't save it, and fair enough, yeah, he's not the one to get all the accolades today. But the fact that we kept scoring when Sabitzer scores, when Weghorst scores, when Sancho scores, all of a sudden you've got players who, obviously Solly March missed the penalty, clearly, was 6 on the penalty shootout list, isn't the best penalty taker.
Yeah.
It's easy to just underestimate that, where we've lost a penalty for the same reason, because it was David De Gea taking one.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to underestimate. Well, yeah, of course we scored them all, but scoring 6 in a row is good going from United, isn't it? It's good that we've got players who have got at least the character to step up in that situation and win us the game. We've got a few super chats. Sim says, they say we are deluded as fuck and heavy underdogs against City, but we have a chance, no matter how small, to stop the City treble and win the domestic double. One more trip to Wembley. Glory, glory, Man United. Simon Cowie, come on United, bring on Guardiola and them cheat City. Yeah, that's easy to forget. They've cheated to a lot of their titles. Can we hit the like button as well, by the way? We've only got 200 likes. Let's get to 1,000 likes immediately. Jerome T. Green says that Mitoma tackle was exactly the tackle Casemiro had that got him sent off, but of course just a yellow. I think there's a few refereeing decisions today where the ref almost got, I would say, like complacent almost.
Yeah, you weren't happy at all, were you?
There was a couple where
a lot of shouting.
Their centre back going through the back of Anthony, sorry. No booking given. When Casemiro did the same thing, immediate booking. There's just a few different ones where I just thought it's one rule for one rule for the other. PT, who's been a member for 7 months, says Lindelof, class at centre-back, shows he is adequate cover for Varane, shows that whoever plays next to Maguire struggles due to his deficiencies. Kareem, with a super chat as well, thank you. Noor Slayman says Lindelof and Wan Turam were superb, and Danny says a win despite awful one-sided reffing. Yeah, Wan-Bissaka was decent today, actually, wasn't he?
Really good.
Yeah.
I know Mitoma had his moments, but I thought generally Wan-Bissaka was good, and a phenomenal run in the second half, wasn't it?
Over and
We didn't even see a replay of that.
No,
we see that again.
That was a bit strange.
That was
Carrying
brilliant.
the ball 50 yards.
And then he just fucking came out of nowhere. The players where there's a bit of pressure on them stepped up today. And I think hopefully then we have a nice little run of Premier League games now. I'd love it if we can nail top 4 early.
Yeah.
So the final games of the season.
Yeah.
Obviously we were playing as well as we could, but maybe the rotation was key. Resting some players the last game, and then just fucking have it.
Lil Yo-Yo's done a big joke, so we're all ready for the big joke.
Yeah.
Okay. Bearing in mind the Brighton manager's name is De Zerbi. This is from Lil Yo-Yo. Do you think we deserve that win?
Oh, nice.
I'll be on my way. So, I don't think we deserved it.
No, I don't think we deserved it.
I tell you what, I don't actually think Brighton did enough to say they deserved it either.
No. That Brighton side that we were a little bit scared of, they were there for a real intense 20 minutes, I think, of the first half.
Yeah.
Then they just became a good side. And I felt like they were just like, we were really like 50-50 then.
Yeah, if they were more clinical in front of goal, then, I think that they would have wiped the floor with us. But, I think we deserved it.
Yeah.
In the end,
We deserved it.
the penalties.
We did deserve it. And also, really, it's hard to win a game of football that you really didn't deserve to win. Because because finishing is the biggest part of football. So if you can't do it, then you didn't deserve to win anyway.
And you'd think with the sort of going into the penalties, given the performance, especially of late, that the players may have lacked confidence, but they were so composed, going in. It was only Delo that I sort of looked at and I thought he looks a little bit shaky.
Yeah, Delo was a bit.
Yeah, the rest of them like, no, I'm smashing this into the roof.
Yeah, it was really good, really good. The whole standard of penalties, except obviously the one that was put over. Yeah. The standard of penalties generally was excellent, wasn't it? A lot of corners, not many that sort of savable zone that they say where it's a foot off the ground and a foot from the corner.
No, really
very
like
few
that.
of them. Actually, and I don't know if this is true, but he said 16 games less played. I assume that's Brighton to United. Yeah. Which, if it's not exactly that, that's definitely about right, isn't it?
Yeah,
and that's we've got a lot of injuries, or we've had a lot of half injuries and people coming back. It does show a little bit of character to be able to pull that out, doesn't it, Joe?
Yeah, it definitely does. I think you could see it in those players though that they were really, really at the end struggling. But no, whatever,
they were knackered,
they were so tired. Whatever happens next, I think we can. If the season ends with a final and a cup and a top 4 finish, these players have done themselves proud, I say. But I still think we can win both.
I do as well. If you look at let's just give credit to Ten Hag. Twice, 2 finals in his first season. Looks like we're going to finish top 4. I mean, that's incredible, right?
You genuinely, you can't argue with that.
No.
Like that's as good as I could have hoped for.
Yeah, exactly.
I said I would have taken a cup or top 4, ideally top 4. Yeah. But if assuming, I hate it when people say, well, Tottenham are going to get better next year and Chelsea and Liverpool, because not everyone gets better every season. There's 1 or 2 of the big teams who are shit. But I thought more good teams would be good. Yeah. And I thought we could genuinely have a decent season and finish 5th. Do you know what I mean? If Liverpool were at their best and, Tottenham were at their best or Chelsea were at their best, we could have finished 5th, won a trophy and gone, that's not the worst. I didn't think we would be looking relatively safe for top 4, already have a trophy in the bag and have another final to play for at the end of the season. Yeah. It's so nice just to have that thing in the distance that no matter what happens in the league now, there is something at the end of this. There's a little pot of gold at the end of that rainbow and we've got a chance to go for it. I absolutely love that. View from the stands said, United email, reduced seats for the final. Only people who went to every home game eligible so far. £50 for every home FA Cup game and a run to London today. Just the 4 seats. Interesting. There you go. So you've got to have gone to every game. Right. That's how they do it though.
Come on. I've checked that one.
Joe's gone. Jack Carter says, go on the lads, call this trio Scotty and Sloppy of the Reds. And that is going to be all from us. Again, make sure you check out Manscaped. The link's in the description. Use the code MATCHDAY20. It's the match day. So MATCHDAY20, you get 20% off and free shipping. Great deal. Check out Manscaped. They help us out. They're a phenomenal brand. We use them all the time. Used them this morning, actually, as my little special.
I need to get myself one of these.
And if you've missed it, that clip of us celebrating is class.
Thank you. Has this been used, this one?
Retweet.
Yeah, that's been used. Thank you for joining us. Manchester United are in the FA Cup final.
Yay!
We will play Manchester City on the 3rd of June at Wembley, the biggest stadium in the country. We're going to be there, and we've got a chance to make it a domestic double. Big season finale coming up for Manchester United. Thank you, Scotty. Thank you, Joe.
See you later.
See you later, man.
We'll see you in a bit.